Ready for a deep dive? Today, we're going beyond funny faces to explore how caricature reveals deeper truths about people and power.
It's more than just laughs. Caricature has a surprisingly complex psychology and history.
Okay, color me intrigued. Where do we even begin?
Well, our guides are Ernst Kris and E. Gombrich,
Who are they?
two Vienna-born art historians
Art historians. Okay.
who fled Nazi-occupied Austria, ended up analyzing propaganda for the BBC during the war.
Propaganda analysts. Wow. Okay, so this is going to be anything but a typical art history lesson. What drew them to caricature in the first place?
They were fascinated by its power, how it reveals hidden truths. You know, a simple exaggeration can change how we see someone.
It's true. A good caricature can capture someone's personality better than a photograph ever could.
Precisely. And Kris and Gombrich wanted to understand why. Their unfinished book grapples with this question, exploring how caricature works, how it evolved, and what it says about how we see the world.
So they were like decoding the psychology of caricature.
Yeah, you could say that.
Where did they even start?
Well, one of their key ideas was exaggeration as revelation. They believed that by exaggerating features, caricatures make us confront aspects of a person's character that we might otherwise miss.
Like, instead of just seeing a crooked smile, you get this exaggerated grin that's like, I'm up to no good. It makes you question everything.
Exactly. It disrupts our perception, forces us to see beyond the surface. For example, look at 19th century political caricatures. Someone like Honoré Daumier.
Yeah.
He would exaggerate a politician's features, like King Louis Philippe's pear-shaped head, to expose something deeper.
So it wasn't just about making the king look silly.
Not at all. It was about exposing the absurdity of his policies, the excesses of power.
So by exaggerating a physical feature, Daumier was saying something about the king's character, about the whole political climate.
Exactly. And this is where it gets even more interesting. Kris and Gombrich also explored this idea of the switch character of images.
Okay, hold on. Switch character. What's that?
Well, caricatures make us see both the exaggerated image and the real person. It's like our brain can't decide what's real and what's distorted. And this makes us question, is there even such a thing as a fixed, objective reality?
So it's not just a big nose, it's about how we see the world, right? What's funny or grotesque to us reveals something about our own biases.
Absolutely. This inherent subjectivity also plays into another thing Kris and Gombrich explored. Why are we both attracted to and repulsed by exaggerated features?
It's like a train wreck, you can't look away.
Right. But why? It's a question that has fascinated artists for centuries. What Kris and Gombrich argued is that caricature taps into something primal in us. We're drawn to the unusual, the out of the ordinary, even if it makes us uncomfortable.
So it's like caricature is this distorted mirror, making us question what we find appealing, what we find repulsive.
And why?
Okay, so how did this fascination with exaggeration develop over time?
Well, we need to go back all the way to the Renaissance to understand that.
The Renaissance? That seems like an odd place to start. I thought it was all about, like, perfect proportions and stuff back then.
You'd think so, right? But even then, artists were already playing with the quirks of the human form.
Okay.
Like, take Leonardo da Vinci. Not the first guy you think of when you think caricature.
Sure.
But Kris and Gombrich argued that his grotesque sketches, those weird faces, were important explorations.
Wait, hold on. Da Vinci, the Mona Lisa guy? He did grotesque stuff, too.
He did. Da Vinci was obsessed with the human form, the ideal, and the unconventional.
So those sketches weren't just doodles.
No, he was pushing boundaries, using exaggeration to see how far he could go.
So it wasn't about a perfect likeness anymore. It was about what? Like understanding something deeper about the face.
Exactly. And you see these seeds of caricature in other Renaissance artists, too.
Oh, yeah. Like who?
The Carracci family in Bologna, they used caricature in their street scenes. They were capturing those little moments, the unique characters in a crowd.
Like a 16th century version of people watching? But it wasn't just about making people laugh, right?
No, they were making observations about society, using caricature as social commentary.
Yeah.
Then there's Bernini, the sculptor.
Bernini, didn't he do those really dramatic sculptures?
He did, and he used caricature brilliantly in his busts, capturing these larger-than-life personalities.
Wow, I never thought of it that way. It's like you're giving me a whole new perspective on art history.
That's what's so great about Kris and Gombrich. They help us see these connections. But let's shift gears a bit. From the Renaissance to, say, 17th, 18th century England.
England in the 1700s, okay.
That's where caricature gets a sharper edge, becomes more satirical.
Lots of material to work with there, I'd imagine. Social upheaval, those wigs.
Right. And no one captured that era better than William Hogarth.
Hogarth.
Mm.
His prints are amazing. So detailed.
They're like visual novels,
Yeah.
full of social satire. He was critiquing the middle class, their hypocrisy, their excesses.
Yeah, Gin Lane, marriage a la mode. There's a real darkness under the surface.
Exactly. He wasn't just exaggerating for laughs.
Yeah.
He wanted to expose something rotten. His prints sparked debate, challenged the status quo.
So, from playful experimentation, we go to pointed social critique, caricatures getting bolder. Where does it go next?
Well, fast forward to 19th century France, political turmoil everywhere. And that's where we meet Honoré Daumier, a true master.
Daumier. His work is incredible, so full of life and bite.
He didn't hold back. Daumier went after the powerful, exposed corruption, hypocrisy. He mocked politicians, the legal system, the bourgeoisie.
And it got him into trouble, right?
Oh yeah, he was even imprisoned for his art.
Wow, that says it all, doesn't it? It wasn't just art, it was dangerous.
Exactly. And this brings us back to Kris and Gombrich
Yeah.
analyzing Nazi propaganda.
Right, because they were studying caricature just as this new form of propaganda was emerging.
Makes you think, doesn't it?
How about?
If caricature can reveal truth, can it also be used to obscure it? To manipulate?
That's a chilling thought.
It is.
And it makes their research even more important.
Absolutely. And it's not just about political propaganda either. Caricature's influence goes way beyond politics. Look at Expressionism, for instance.
Expressionism. Those are intense, kind of unsettling, right? I don't think I'd naturally connect those to caricature, but I can sort of see it now that you mention it.
Right. Think about Munch, Kirchner, even Picasso during his Cubist phase.
Okay.
They distorted figures, exaggerated features, focused on emotions instead of, like, realistic depictions.
So they took those caricature tools and used them to express something deeper, something internal.
Exactly. Caricature helped pave the way for that exploration of the human psyche. It's like art doesn't always have to reflect reality. It can reshape it, distort it to show us something new.
And that influence is still around today, right? I mean, we see it everywhere. Graphic novels, cartoons, even those filters we use on our selfies. It's all playing with exaggeration in a way.
It's true. Caricature is everywhere. It's in our cartoons, our political satire, even advertising.
It's like Kris and Gombrich were onto something much bigger. It's like they were uncovering these fundamental rules of visual communication that we still use.
And that's why their unfinished book is so fascinating. It's like they left us clues, and now it's our job to, figure out the rest.
So how do we do that? How do we take these ideas about caricature and apply them to today? I mean, we're surrounded by images all the time.
We have to become more aware. We're bombarded with images trying to get our attention, make us feel certain ways, even make us buy stuff. Kris and Gombrich remind us to, take a step back. Look beyond the surface.
Don't just accept things at face value.
Exactly. Ask questions. What's being highlighted? What are they not showing you? Who made this image and why?
It's like we need to be on the lookout for those hidden messages.
We need to understand those techniques, the way exaggeration works, so we can decode the message, see through the illusions, and make our own decisions.
So the next time we see a clever ad or a meme that makes us laugh, or even a political cartoon that makes us angry, we shouldn't just scroll past. We should really look at it.
Absolutely. Those images, even the simple ones, carry a lot of meaning. They reflect our values, they shape our opinions, and they influence how we act.
Just like Kris and Gombrich discovered, there's a whole world hidden in plain sight if you know how to look.
Exactly.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to resurface from this deep dive into the world of caricature. It's been quite a journey.
It has.
But before we go, I want to leave everyone with a thought. Today, when we're constantly bombarded with picture-perfect images, maybe caricature, with its ability to cut through the noise and show us the truth, is even more important than ever.
It's a tool for critical thinking, for questioning what we see, for seeing the world in new ways. And sometimes those deeper truths come from exaggeration, distortion, and, even a little laughter along the way.